like to introduce the executive that we have here. I'm Father Tom Lynch, and I'm the pastor of St. Mary's in Lindsay, Ontario, for the last year and a half, I suppose. And I'm a lecturer at St. Augustine's Seminary. And for the last just about 2.5 years, I've been the National Director of Priests for Life Canada. The chair of the board is John Lemire. Wave, John. John is the pastor of our Mother Perpetual Help in New Liskeard, in Timmins Diocese, and he's been chair for about the same time that I've been national director. Kevin Belgrave of the Archdiocese of Toronto, currently in Rome, studying, but we kept him on as an advisory member of our executive. We have Mike Vanderwill, who's our operations manager, whom we've all been corresponding with or speaking to or talking to up at the desk, who's in Pembroke. I'd like to say thanks to Father John Nemanich, who's a priest of the Diocese of Calgary, who was the main coordinator and organizer for the Congress. He's just taking over a brand new parish with several thousand families, but no church building in a western suburb of Calgary, so he couldn't be here. He started, I think he started yesterday in the parish there. And Justin's at the back. Where's Justin? There's Justin, who's been our seminarian assistant for the summer and helped to put together a lot of this as it goes. Okay. So there are other members of the executive as well that we'll go through, and I'll talk about it on Friday. We try to have our members are from, I won't say quite from coast to coast, but a fairly good representation from coast to coast. We also have deacons who are on our board, and we have several Episcopal advisors. As you can see from our presiders, we try to coordinate and cooperate with the approval of the ordinaries. Archbishop Tonus was very gracious in welcoming us here into Hamilton, and we found that in every single diocese we've been in now in the last 2.5 years. In fact, we can't really answer all the requests to be in the various dioceses because there's only so many of us to go around. But we also are looking to see how we can coordinate with the bishops, the various bishops' diocesan plan. And many bishops are formulating pro-life components to their plans. I'm thinking, for instance, of Halifax, that's really working to be able to put this into place. And so we've been asked to contribute to those various plans, and we're glad to be able to try to do so. What does it mean for us, for Priests for Life? Just very briefly, because I'm going to spend a lot more time on it on Friday. Priests for Life started 16 years ago, and one of the first things that people say to me is, well, isn't every priest pro-life? And I said, well, they should be, and we hope they are. That's not what it is. It's the same as saying, you know, that a person can be pro-life and yet not really be effective or active in the pro-life movement. We've seen that, I'm sure, with many of us. And so what we look at is to be able to encourage and to support and to empower clergy, deacons, priests, and bishops. How can we make your life more effective, your ministry more powerful, your voice to be more definitely heard within society? What do you need to be able to be more effective? And that's the very first thing that I ask in any meeting of the clergy, to say, what do you need? How can we help you? How is it that we can make you more effective, you know, more successful in what you're doing? How can we build you up, in effect? And I think that's important to be able to see, because often enough we have found that priests have a difficult time. There's a lot coming down the pipe on us, and therefore we need to be able to look at effective support, not just more stuff to do, you know. Often enough when you ask a priest to do more, they'll just give you that look of panic and say, you know, not one more person knocking on my door. Ours is to be able to say, how is it that we can assist in your vocation in a very real way? And I think that's the big thing that we need to look at. So for the last 16 years, we've been building up resources, making contacts, etc. We had one national director, Father James Whalen, in all the first 14 years. He asked me about 2.5 years ago, he phoned me up and said, you know, Tom, it's time to get back on the horse. You've been off the board for about 4 years. I was on the original board. We need a new chairman. You should be it. So I said, okay, I'm back from Rome, and I'll be glad to do that, and okay, I'll do it. And he says, and besides, remember that, you know, somebody's going to have to take over my slack, take up my slack when I'm gone, and it's going to have to be you. And I said, oh yeah, don't worry about that, Jim. He was dead a week later. he dropped dead preaching a pro-life mission in St. Catharines. So it was a bit spooky because I'd agreed. Anyway, but I took over, and through, I would like to say, the real generosity of people that I asked to sit on the board and take positions on the board, we effectively constituted a new board and set some new directions too. New directions to be able to say whether the material that was being produced was effective, what you needed, how we could coordinate with seminarians, with seminaries, and with the religious communities, dioceses, etc. We felt that we should take the long view, and we really are taking the long view. We've coordinated with a number of organizations such as the National Campus Life Network, and we've been working now so that they have input into the seminaries, which will be starting this year. This is part of the long view, and to really start to say who are the agents of change within our society, and it's you. You're the agents of change. And the kind of clout that a pastor can have, and you'll all be pastors within a very short year, it's very short years, trust me. The kind of clout that you have is really unbelievable if you wish to exercise it. I was ordained 26 years ago, and within 24 months, I was a pastor, within 24 months. Nowadays, in many cases, it's even quicker. And so, looking at that, our question is how we can equip you as pastors to be effective agents of change. Along with that, then, we need to be able to say, too, how is it that we are called to build up a true culture of life? I would strongly encourage you guys to get to know other people. It's very important to be able to recognize that the church in Canada is quite small, big country, but the church is really quite small. And if we are looking at what support means something far beyond our diocesan or archdiocesan borders. It means that we can be able to say, I know somebody out there in Prince George, you know, I have met somebody from Antigonish, I know somebody in Hamilton, and to be able to not just access that person when, you know, some member of a family needs pastoral care, but also to be able to say, I wonder what Dave's doing, you know, or Paul's, I've heard good things about this, or what about that idea, or to bounce ideas off of people. One of the great things we have in terms of the access to social media means that we have that ability to tie in. And why should the devil have all the good technology, right? So we, I think, can be able to form those kinds of connections and to be able, hopefully, to keep those kinds of connections so that we have what is possible to look at as a broader based network by which we can start to build up this whole idea of priests being involved in the culture of life. Just before you have a break, I want to leave you with something that a German commentator said. Perhaps as never before, today the credibility of the priestly ministry depends on how much priests themselves are rooted in a lived unity, in a form of life that enables the priestly service to be a common witness with the Lord himself, the one priest in our midst. If a priest is to be a specialist in anything, then he must be so in communion, in unity. The spirituality and form of life of priests is that of unity, but such a service of unity and for unity cannot be lived by priests in isolation. It is lived only in unity with, not just with their bishops, but in the unity of the presbyterate as a whole, that they can show that it is not they who speak or work or live, but the Lord himself. This is what I'd like us to be able to try to look at over these next few days, to be able to formulate a practical unity so that we can be able to be more effective in what we do and what we say and how we live, so that we can build up the beginning of this culture of life.